How can I help you?
Howdy, I came to sell my Pokemon card.
Is this an error card?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, it's obviously an error card, right? The back is blank.
that is right. I'm looking to sell my extremely rare Ghastly Error Pokemon card. It's one of the rarest errors you're probably going to find. Both sides are printed on one side of the card, and the other side's completely blank, something that definitely should have been caught in quality control. I'm looking to get $4,000 for my Error Ghastly Pokemon card.
So this is actually pretty cool. You know, Pokemon's been around since 1996, but it was, brought here from Japan in 1999. And everyone wanted to collect Pokemon cards, play Pokemon video games, and watch the Pokemon cartoons. And typically, on a Pokemon card, you would have the back of the card would look like this Pokemon, and then the front of the card would have been printed right here on this white space, but you can actually see the front of the card was printed right over the back of the card. Can I take it out of the plastic?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I mean, it does feel right. I've played thousands of games of Pokemon and looked at my cards many times, so that is something I do know. Even though it's double printed, you can fully make out the back and you can fully make out the front. So I really, really like that. It's actually pretty cool you have this error. I've never seen one like this. So how did you get this?
So another collector opened a theme deck, and some of the cards inside had this error where they were printed twice on one side and not printed on the back. And I purchased this one from him, and it's been in my collection ever since.
So how much are you looking to get for it?
I think I'd like $4,000 for it.
Okay, that seems like a pretty high price. I don't know if it's too high, but error cards kind of have their own markets, so I need to have someone come down and take a look at it. And first, tell me that it is a authentic Pokemon misprinted card and not just something that someone was able to create on a printer. And also maybe shed some light on what they think the value could be. It could kind of be all over the place with these errors. Should we get him in here and see what he says?
Sounds great.
Give me just a few minutes, I'll be right back.
No worries.
It feels like a good card to me, but
yeah,
I figured I'd get the pros down here.
Yeah, you got to be careful with some of these cards. I mean, these errors are worth a lot of money, so there's every reason for people to manipulate them. This is an XY Evolutions card printed in 2016. Ghastly, obviously a popular Pokemon type. And, the manufacturing at these printing facilities is very top-notch, and the security is really tight, and they really just look out for things like this. So the fact that this, avoided the fate of getting pulled out of production, that's just a miracle of survival right there.
Because it's not a small error.
No, it's not a small, it's blatantly obvious. That's messed up. Error collecting is something that really blossomed in the last 5-6 years because you can have error cards that are very common from $5 to $10 a piece, all the way up to $100,000 for some of the most rare errors on rarer cards. If you have a really rare card with an error that's really dramatic, then it can be worth a lot of money. So yeah, first off, we want to make sure it's real. So, take a look at it real quick. The intricate details here are just all there. The corners look correct, the cut's correct, everything looks right. Very happy to say that this card is unquestionably real. This is a true rarity right here.
I had no doubt, but it's good to hear you say it.
Yeah, it's a nice item.
What kind of value do you think this has?
I'd probably be right around $3,000, I think, is a fair value, fair retail value for that error.
I think that's a little bit conservative, but I respect your opinion.
All right, well, his opinion is the one I have to live with, so I thank you for coming down and helping me out here.
Always my pleasure, chum. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.
All right, well, he thinks it's worth about $3,000. I'd be a buyer at $2,000. What do you think?
I think 2,000's a little low. 2,000's half of what I came in here looking for, and while I respect his opinion, I do think it's a little bit conservative.
What about 2,300?
Again, that still feels a little bit off from me, but I'm still willing to compromise if you could go to maybe 2,500.
It's a very unique error card, so I think I'm comfortable at 2,500.
That's awesome.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. Go meet me over at the counter, and I'll buy it from you.
That sounds great.
2,500.
Cheers.
Sounds good.
I'm walking home with some cash, so I definitely played this card right.
Hey, how you doing?
I brought in something I thought maybe you'd be interested in.
What do you have?
Got a $30 bill made by the United States.
Let me see this thing.
Absolutely.
This looks like a $20 bill to me.
It does. And that looks like a 10.
Now it looks like a $10 bill.
I'm a currency collector. This is probably the very favorite piece from my collection. I've owned it 5, 6, maybe 7 years. The reason I'm going to sell it now is because it has no immediate place in my collection, and I don't see it having a place in the near or long-term future.
I've never seen anything like this before. I don't really know too much about this. So this one's from 1974.
Those were the last ones made.
So what happened? There was just an error on the printing press or something?
Yeah, exactly. They print the backs first, and they let them dry overnight, and then instead of printing the front with a 10, they accidentally slipped those in, and they printed the front with a 20.
It is pretty cool. I mean, the Treasury doesn't usually allow stuff like this to get out into the public hands. Don't they catch that pretty quick?
Yeah, they really do. But every once in a while, something sneaks out.
Okay, and so normally they would like destroy these if they found them, right?
Correct.
Well, you know, it is graded though. PCGS is definitely what you want to see on there when you're looking for grading in currency. Extremely fine, 45. I don't even exactly know what that means.
That's all right.
I know extremely fine is good though.
It's very good. It's very good.
And I mean, it all looks legit. It's sealed. It's definitely a $10 bill on the back and a $20 bill on the front. I mean,
Well, this,
just from my untrained naked eye, it looks perfect.
it does look nearly perfect.
How much are you looking to get?
I guess I'm looking for $35,000 on this.
That's a lot of money for 30 bucks.
It is.
I don't know enough about this to even make you an offer, so I'd like to call someone in and kind of get their opinion on what it is and what they think about it.
Sure, fair enough. Let's do it.
Okay, give me just a minute. I'll have someone down here and see if we can't make a deal on this thing.
Ready when you are. I think my asking price is realistic enough that I expect the expert to come in, you know, with a range that includes $35,000.
Hey,
Chumley, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Chumley called me in the shop today to look at a $30 bill, which is a pretty darn rare error note, which has a $20 front and a $10 back. And I'm really excited to see it because I haven't seen one in a couple of years. You cannot spend it for 30 bucks.
I think you'd lose some money on that, huh?
You would. You definitely don't want to. This bill is Series 1974. When they were discovered, I believe the Fed came in, they heard about them, and retrieved as many as they could. But around 2 dozen, I'd say maybe 26, 27, escaped. Well, it's obviously certified, so you probably don't have any questions on condition. What do you...
I mean, I don't really know what this means, so...
Okay. So PCGS has certified this a 45, extremely fine, on a scale of 1 to 70, 1 being the worst, 70 being the best. This is towards the higher middle range. As you can see, it looks considerably better than the assigned grade. The folds are very subtle.
Okay. So how much do you think this is worth?
Well, I'd put an auction value, I would expect this to bring between 30 and 40,000. 40 on the greatest day, 30 on an average day.
Okay. Well, I think that's what I need to know.
All right. I appreciate
you
it.
coming
My
down.
pleasure. The $30 bill error is extremely sought out by collectors. It's one of the most popular and dramatic errors that could possibly exist. If Chumley can get this at a reasonable price, he should absolutely buy this for the shop.
So what do you think?
I still think it's worth $35,000. That's right in the middle of your expert's estimate.
You know, I wouldn't doubt that it's worth $35,000, but that is an auction setting. I mean, I could probably go $20,000. I think $20,000 is still leaving me with enough room to make a decent profit there.
No, I think there's plenty of profit potential there at 20. It's just not going to work for me. How about 27.5?
This is gonna be my last offer, max value that I can pay for it here. I think if I offer you $22,000, I think there's enough room in there for me to make the profit that I need to make.
I just can't go below 25,000. I just can't. Appreciate your offer, but
All right.
thanks
Take
so
care.
much.
My pleasure.
Yep, thank you. I'm not the least bit disappointed that I didn't sell it for 25,000. Certainly 22K was out of the question. I know this thing's gonna bring 30 to 40,000. I just don't want to leave too much money on the table.
What do we got here?
Got an 8-cent book of stamps that my dad got in 1971. And it's been misprinted and miscut.
Yeah, the post office. Doesn't surprise me they screwed up some stamps, too.
yeah, exactly. I came to the pawn shop today to try to sell my 1971 misprinted Eisenhower 8-cent stamps. I researched on the internet. I've never seen anything like this. I'm hoping to get close to $800,000 per stamp.
Where did you get these?
Well, my dad worked at a post office. He was one of those grumpy old guys that sold stamps. He sold them to a woman who brought them back 2 days later and said, hey, these are no good. So I gave her a good book and brought those home and said, this could be worth money someday.
Okay, it could be. You know anything about it?
All I know is that this is a good page. This is how they're supposed to be printed, and this is a bad page. Obviously, it's in sideways, and it's miscut, too, because there's supposed to be perforation there.
Okay. I've used 8-cent stamps before. When I was a kid, that's how much a letter was.
Right.
I never mail anything anymore as far as like bills or anything like that. Everything's online. Back in the early days of the U.S. Postal Service, they actually did not use stamps. The recipient was supposed to pay the postman directly when he showed up to deliver the mail. But that took way too long. So in the 1840s, they introduced prepaid stamps.
Eisenhower was one of the greatest presidents ever. He built the interstate highway, he expanded Social Security, and he fought for civil rights. It's no wonder they made a stamp of him.
What were you looking to do with them?
I want to sell them. I'm getting close to retirement and like to have a little extra money to play with.
Do you have any idea what you're looking to get out of it?
I really don't. How much do you want to give for them?
To tell you quite frankly, I don't know a lot about stamps. At least with coins, they'll make the same dime for 40 years. Stamps, they change them every few weeks. I mean, it's like a field in itself. But it is a mistake, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen often. So you might have something worth $5. You might have something worth 5,000 bucks. I have no idea.
Okay.
I actually do know a guy who knows all about stamps. Been doing it his whole life.
Okay.
Let him get him down here.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, be right back.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'm hoping this expert can come up with a big number for me.
Hey, Jay, how's it going?
Hi, Rick. The guys call me down to the shop when they have a rare stamp or a rare coin that they need more information about. This is an interesting item. There's millions of stamp collectors, and there's probably hundreds of thousands who collect errors on stamps.
So what do we have here?
We have more than a miscut. This is 4 or 5 errors combined in one.
Okay.
This is clipped along the bottom corner here, and then you have 3 clip stamps along the top. And because these perforations are missing on this row and this row, you have a miscut plus an imperforate error.
Imperforate, what does that mean?
Imperforate means no perforations.
Okay.
Out of millions of these panes produced, you don't see this too often. A miscut or a misprint is very collectible because they're rare. There's very few of them. Some are worth just a little bit, and some are worth great, great sums of money.
So, I mean, how many of these do you think exist like this?
The miscut, probably in the 50 to 100 range.
Okay.
The imperforate pairs are much rarer.
Okay. How much would it be worth?
It would be worth between $500 and $700.
Okay. It's a lot more than I thought, because I thought you were going to say 50 bucks.
That's a lot less than I thought.
Thanks a lot, Jay. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. The value of anything is determined by supply and demand. And errors that are sought by millions of people are worth a lot more than errors that are not that popular. So the demand is a big factor.
So how much do you want for them?
I'll go at the low end of that, 500.
No, it's not the low end, son. That's retail.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I'll give you 400 bucks for them. I am a business. I do have bills. You know what I mean? I mean, no one works for me for free,
Right.
even though he thinks they should. But I'll give you 400 bucks.
How about 425?
4.
$425.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right. I'll meet you right up front. I'll write you up.
I wanted more, but that's reasonable. Obviously, $425 is not enough to retire, so I'm going to put it aside and see what happens.
Hey, how can I help you?
Got this old error print dollar bill. Thought it looked interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. You didn't try and print this up yourself, did you? No.
I decided to come to the pawn shop today to try to sell my $1 error note. Got this note from my father-in-law. When he passed on, we took over his coin collection, and he had that note in amongst it. My father-in-law kept it for a reason. He seems to be able to know what these things are worth, so I thought it might be worth something.
Errors are pretty common. Well, they're not real common. They can be worth money. This is called a fold-over. So this is one of the bills that was in the corner, and it folded over a little bit. Usually, they're like down here at the end of the bill.
Okay.
Except I've never seen one folded over this much.
I thought that was a pretty big error, and it's neat how it actually folded over, and you can see the serial numbers printed right across the two sides.
This is in incredible shape. Collectors love currency errors because every one is completely unique. They often circulate for years before anyone notices the error, so finding one in this condition is really rare. Okay, the big problem with these things right here is there's no book value on them.
Okay.
Because it's an error when there's a million different ways an error can occur.
Right.
It's usually bigger the error, the more it's worth.
Yeah.
What do you want to do with it?
I'd like to sell it. Figure we don't collect them. I thought somebody would appreciate it more than we do.
I've seen currency with minor errors like a slightly folded edge sell for hundreds of dollars. But this was a major error. I can't believe this wasn't caught. I really want to call in a friend of mine, let him look at this thing. You need someone who more or less deals in these things to get an idea.
I'd be curious what they said.
Okay. Let me get him down here, and let's find out exactly what it's worth before I make you an offer. Okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right,
you.
thanks.
I'm glad he's calling in an expert because it's such a unique item. I don't know what to expect that it's worth. I'm hoping I can get $100 out of it.
Hey, Wayne, how's it going?
Good, how are you, Rick?
I'm doing great.
Good to see you.
Well, this is what I called you about.
It's a pretty significant error. You said it was pretty good. I am a professional numismatist, which is a fancy way of saying I study rare coins and currency.
There's no book on them, really?
Nope. Nope. And everyone's unique, as you know. It's like just a matter of what somebody will pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I called you. I have no clue.
There's lots of different kinds of errors. This is one of the nicest ones I've seen. It's a significant fold over. It's nice. You have the corner of the sheet, which has the back plate number on it. You've got the seal and serial number printed across the fold, which is kind of cool.
So how does it exactly end up in circulation? How does this end up getting printed like that? And
this was folded between the second and third printing. They print the front of the note, then they print the back, and the third printing is when they put the serial number and the seals on it. And then they go into another place where they cut the notes, and they actually cut them in stacks of 100. So they don't actually count them before they go out. It was just banded and went out, and this would have probably been discovered at a bank when it arrived. This grade of 64 is on a scale of 1 to 70, 70 being perfect. You rarely see grades above 66 or 67, so 64 is really a top grade for this note. This note is worth significantly more because it's such a dramatic error and a collector will like it.
what's it worth? I mean,
it's not rare to see a fold-over error, but oftentimes they're just partially folded. You don't have printing across them, and those aren't worth very much money. They're worth, you know, a couple $100 maybe. Because this is so significant and because of the way it's printed over, I think this would bring, I'd say $1,000 to $1,500.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I was only expecting about $100 out of it.
Thanks, Wayne. Appreciate
Thanks for calling me.
Wow, this thing is a $1 bill, and it's still worth that much? I've seen 200-year-old coins go for less. All right, so you still want $100 for it?
I don't think so. No, I think it's probably $1,500.
If I'm lucky, I'll get $1,500. That's what I'll get out of it if I'm lucky. Okay? I'm not going to give you that. I can't do it. There's no money to be made at that. I mean, and I have to make money.
Tell you what, how about 1,000?
How about $600?
Go a little higher, 700.
Yeah, I'll do the 700.
700
$700.
Okay,
Let's go do some paperwork.
Great.
This way.
The expert said it's worth up to $1,500. I was blown away by that. So I ended up settling for $700, which is far more than I expected to get out of it. I think my wife will probably want me to use that money to take her to Cancun.
What do we got? I have some political memorabilia, the Secret Service ID for J. Howard McGrath, Attorney General of the United States.
Okay.
Some letters signed to him by J. Edgar Hoover, Hubert Humphrey, his White House pass.
Oh, that's cool.
And half of a $10 bill signed to him.
You know, I never got the Secret Service because everybody knows they exist.
I came into the pawn shop today to try and sell some political memorabilia from the Attorney General of the United States, J. Howard McGrath. I really don't know what they're worth. Kind of had a number of 1,000 in my head, but we'll see how it goes.
Where did you get these?
I bought them from his grandson.
All right. McGrath was the Attorney General under Truman, late 40s, early 50s. I don't think McGrath was actually in the Secret Service, but being the Attorney General, I'm sure he could get any credentials he wanted.
He was the top law enforcement official.
J. Howard McGrath was a power player in Washington politics. He was the chairman of the Democratic National Committee when Truman ran for president. So Truman picking him to be Attorney General? Cronyism, you think? These are pretty interesting here. And this right here is...
I believe that is half of a counterfeit $10 bill. They signed it to the Attorney General.
You sure it's counterfeit and just not a bad misprint?
I don't know.
Sometimes when the Bureau of Printing and Engraving make a bill, they screw up. Misprint bills can be worth a lot of money to collectors. But counterfeit money, that's a whole different story. It's a federal offense to use a counterfeit bill, so I'm assuming you can't own one. Yeah, it's counterfeit. All American currency, they throw silk rag in with the paper. So if you pick up a bill and you look at it closely, you'll see little red and blue lines all over it. If that's not there, it's not real. This doesn't have any of those.
All right.
I don't even think it's legal to own this thing.
Okay.
This is an amazing collection. You just never see stuff like this, but it scares the hell out of me. I mean, counterfeit money and Secret Service credentials, this is the kind of stuff that can get me in hot water. You got some neat stuff here, and these three things right here, I really want to get checked out. I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure it's a felony to own this thing.
Yeah, the last thing I need is the feds coming through the door of this place.
Let me go make a phone call. I'll be right back.
Thanks.
I'm really hoping it's legal to keep this stuff because it's awesome. If it checks out, I'll definitely make an offer.
What do we have today?
Well, this is a counterfeit bill, so...
Counterfeit?
Yeah.
I'm the administrator of the Clark County Museum System, and after 35 years in the museum field, there's not much I haven't seen at some point or another. J. Howard McGrath. Interesting. You know who he was?
Attorney General of the United States.
Well, he was that too. He was three-term governor of Rhode Island. He was a senator as well.
Oh, okay.
McGrath was Attorney General from 49 to 52. He presided over a case that got rid of segregation in dining cars on railroads. It was a fairly active time. Now, let me take a look here. Oh, yes. This is his Secret Service credential. The embossing, the seal is right on this, so this is all right. Normally, if you see one, it's been marked retired, so this is quite unusual. Secret Service passes like this. Normally, they either have a stripe across them or they're marked retired, so it's an interesting one because it's all completely intact.
How collectible is this guy, and is any of this stuff legal to own?
Having a White House pass, they are not real common. They are collected. That, on the other hand, you don't want. A counterfeit bill is not legal to own. So, obviously, these guys were probably involved in whatever case this came out of and gave it to him as a souvenir. This is the sort of thing that you don't want to own. In 1950, things were a little looser, and when you're the Attorney General of the United States, some of the laws aren't enforced quite as strongly.
Can we shred it?
No. Best thing to do is turn that in to the Secret Service.
Okay.
Thanks for coming in, Mark.
Not a problem.
You're the best.
Appreciate it.
All righty.
What do you want to do with these?
I'd like to sell them.
How much you want for them?
I'd like $1,000.
Not gonna happen. We got Howard McGrath. No one knows who he was.
This one's not stamped retired. You heard him say it was rare.
This is not exactly a badge, so it's gonna be a little bit harder to sell. It's sort of on the fringe of badge collecting.
How about 800?
4.
Yeah, I mean, I need to get 5.
Yeah, I'll give you $500.
Good deal.
All right, you wanna write them up?
Yeah, sure. Come with me, man.
These Secret Service credentials are amazing. Even though McGrath is not exactly a household name, there's collectors out there who love stuff like this.
Good morning.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. What do we got?
A newspaper, Dewey defeats Truman. As we all know, this was a misprint.
Whoever did that probably got his ass chewed out.
I'm sure they did. I came to the pawn shop today to sell a Dewey defeats Truman newspaper from the Chicago Tribune. The reason why I want to sell it is I think it's a valuable piece of history that somebody may be interested in. I think it's worth several thousand, and that's what I'm looking to get for it. This is an original paper from November 3rd, 1948. My father owned a newsstand, and he kept this.
What had happened was Dewey was ahead in the popular vote, and they were in such a rush to be the first newspaper out that said Dewey defeats Truman. They blasted him right out. Back in 1948, everybody thought Thomas Dewey would beat Harry Truman in a landslide. So the Chicago Tribune went ahead and printed his victory before the results were even in. It's one of the biggest screw-ups in the history of journalism.
What I found really interesting is obviously the headline and then the typesetting that's upside down.
Back in the day, papers was all hand set, and you always had the human error in there. There's always a market for presidential collectibles. Harry Truman holding up this newspaper is one of the most iconic images of the 20th century.
So what'd you want to do with it? Do you want to pawn it or sell it, or?
Sell it. I know there's only 12 in the whole United States.
I'd beg to differ strongly.
Oh,
in 1948, this was a big deal. And everybody that got this newspaper with this headline held on to it. No one threw that away. So I'd make you an offer somewhere around $45.
Are you kidding?
Not at all.
Well, I've had an offer for 1,000.
Run as fast as you can and get it. Please do. I'm withdrawing my offer.
Well, and the reason why, he's from Chicago, so this means a lot to him.
Sentimental value could be worth more
that's
sometimes. Take it to him, sell it to him, get your $1,000, buy something nice with it.
Thank you very much. It was nice meeting you. I thought the offer was really lowballing it. I have other parties interested in it that are history buffs, so I will pursue those avenues.
What do we got?
You got a first day cover signed by Chuck Yeager.
Okay, that's definitely cool. I mean, it's the first guy to break the speed of sound. This guy was a badass. At that point in time, with people in the aerospace industry saying, if you fly that fast, you're gonna tear the plane apart and you're gonna die, to be the one guy that says, yeah, screw it, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. Today I'm coming in to sell a first day cover signed by Chuck Yeager, the first guy to exceed the speed of sound. To have that autograph from a World War II hero, a brigadier general, someone of that stature and history is unbelievable.
Now, was that a misprint buck right there?
Yeah, they actually misprinted right here where it says Pilot Charles Buck Yeager, and he crossed out Buck and he put Chuck.
The funny thing is I'm sure the Postal Service printed millions of these before anybody ever noticed. That's definitely cool. Here at the shop, we usually avoid stamps altogether. However, having a Chuck Yeager signature and a typo on his name that he corrected, that's the kind of story behind an item that collectors love. What are you looking to do with it?
I'd like to sell it, and I think a $300 is a great offer. You know, it's an awesome piece of history, and it's a great conversation piece.
I'm not positive what you have here is a first day cover. I'm thinking it's more of a commemorative cover. Commemorative covers are more of a souvenir from an important event. If this was a first day cover, I'm pretty sure the post office would have a stamp that would actually mark it first day cover or first day of issue. And as you can see, there's not a stamp like that here. So as it sits, I'll give you $150.
You're way off. It's an iconic piece of history. The lowest I'd probably go is $250.
I'll go $200 if you want it.
I'll tell you what, I'll meet you halfway. Let's go $225.
I'll give you $200 just because of the Chuck Yeager autograph. Autographs aren't that easy to sell. This is the best I can do.
You know what? Let's do it.
All right,
200.
I'll meet you over there, man.
Sounds good. I ended up settling on $200. I think it's fair. I think that this item can now be enjoyed by them, and I know they'll sell it. I know they're gonna make money on it. I'm happy, and I'm sure they're happy, because otherwise they wouldn't have bought it.